What up, everybody? Live Reality Games Podcast coming at you. We got Survivor 48, Episode 3 to recap. I'm Daniel Ball, and I'm joined by my tribe mate, Steven Stewart. Steven, what is up, man? Spring break for you. How you feeling?
I have a question for you, Daniel. Would you flip on me in a tie vote?
Not in this scenario. Like we'll get into this. I don't understand Cedric's rationale for flipping after he voted say twice. He had the opportunity to kind of backtrack and go, okay, like I can see kind of what's going on here. Let me make this right. And he still chose to vote her for a second time. It wasn't until the third time where she was like, hey man, like you realize he lied to you. And I know you know that, but like it didn't matter the first two votes. Now all of a sudden that plays a factor into the third vote.
I don't know if if it had clicked that Justin wasn't voting. It was just the two of them voting nonstop. I don't know if that had like come through or not yet until like just like, by the way, Justin's not voting.
After you see the votes, you got to start going, all right, well, somebody doesn't have a vote, and Justin would have been my first initial thought because of the journey that he went on was just so fresh, and I wouldn't have thought that anybody else wouldn't have had a vote. But it was a good episode. So being the professor, being as astute as you are, what are you grading this episode?
I really enjoyed this episode for the wild ending, and we'll kind of have to talk about it, saying, is this what Survivor is? Is this what we want, where we have these wild, small tribal councils where we break up the rule book and really kind of dig through the order of operations? I don't know, but I thought it was really fascinating because it made me reevaluate, like, wait, is that how tie votes work? I guess I've never really factored in no votes into the whole tie votes system.
Yeah, I'm sitting there watching it, and obviously, my wife and I were going through it, and she's like, "Well, what happens now?" And I was like, "That's a fantastic question. Let me think about this." I was like, "Well, there's a rock draw, but how are they going to draw rocks?" I don't know. But when he said Cedric had the deciding vote, I was like, "Oh, well, Say's going home for sure." But We'll get into the minutia of the tribal council and the voting and how all that went down, but
I will say I have seen one precedent, sort of, in a live reality game, or at very least where you have like a null vote situation. So Survival Challenge 2019, Matt Cast was well known for loving ties, and so I think it's the final 10, and two idols were played successfully, so no votes count. They revote. You have a 3-3-1-1 tie, and then on the revote, someone finally goes out. And so I've seen kind of like that, like you have 3 levels of votes before, but never a deadlock to a sole tie break with what Cedric pulled off. So yeah.
I don't even want to be a part of that. We had an opportunity in Survivor Angelica this past season where we had just done a tribe swap, and I was on the minority, and we needed to get one of the other tribe members to flip on their original tribe, and we were successfully able to do that. But prior to all that happening, I'm trying not to go home, and they're talking about, well, let's do this. Let's vote 2-2-2 ties, and then we'll go to this, and then this will happen, and then so and so will play their idol, and then all of these. Like, I was like, no, I don't want any part of that. Like, just for the simple fact that I don't want to get into a situation where I go home because of the unwritten rules that I wasn't aware of, or just by like chance. I want to go ahead and know
when you create something complicated like a 2-2-2, it's so easy for someone to flip. Or just like to change it, so like, all right, you're not like some shenanigans can happen so easily when you have kind of like those kind of slim margins.
Yep. And Stephen Lupo, I don't know if you know him, but he's played a ton of these LRGs, and he's trying to, like, in the midst of a live tribal, he's trying to get this split vote to happen, because in his head it makes sense, but in a live tribal where you're going from one person or one group to the next, it's like it's all just a big jumble.
Yeah,
And so,
you just need a block vote, and the other side to not know who the block vote is.
right. And anyway, I ended up surviving because we were able to flip someone, and we just went 3-2 and we were done with it. But yeah, in this particular case, there was a lot of like digging through the rule book to find out, how is this going to go down. But I mean, it's probably a good thing at some point that you have these situations, because you never know. Like, it's nice to know, like, there is an answer to how this goes down, and it's not this like, oh, we got to make up something on the fly. Episode 3, Vulu Say is worried because the previous tribal council, she was told to play her idol because she was in jeopardy. And the reality is Cedric lied to her and told her that. And now she's realizing that she played her idol for no reason. And she doesn't feel like she can trust any of them. If you're Say at this particular moment, are you just saying, all right, I don't trust them even though I'm still here? Or are you saying, I get it, it's a game, and like they had to do some things and they were probably trying to protect me, so they said just play my idol so that I know for sure that I'm back?
Well, Say doesn't have a poker face. And so, I mean, my answer is that you smile, you grin, you bear it, you say, it's all good, you were looking out for me, thanks so much. I would privately seek, but like when there's 4 people, like, and you're not swapping, because the swaps are rare in the new era, it's kind of, you kind of just have to take it as it is and say, look, I'm stuck with these people. Unless, like, there's the dream that Mary and Say kind of come together to do something, but it's just, at least prior to this episode, or prior to the end of this episode, where Cedric's like, you must work together. It just felt so unlikely to see anything come between them happening, because let's be honest, they could have run the table to tribal council because they had 2 of the 3 votes if they wanted to.
This reminded me of Survivor Angelica this past season. There was a player who I love dearly named Natasha. And she was very much like very chaotic and messy and crazy in how she played. And you literally had to watch her because she would go out and look all the time for something. And 99% of the time she would find it. Like, she would find how, I don't know, but she had an eye for it. But, I get it. I understand. And maybe Cedric kind of signs his death certificate by telling them they need to get along, because they might realize, well, maybe we can. I find it very unlikely, like you, but you never know. I'm never gonna be like, hey guys, you gotta play together. No, keep fighting each other. That's fine with me.
I mean, for Cedric, it's like it's the dream situation where they'll gun for each other. I'm the middle. It'll be like the Sean Ricard Genie vote, where Sean's like, I get to do whatever I want, and so Cedric has put himself in that place where he decides what happens. But at the same point, I think it'll be interesting. I imagine the start of next episode, we'll see some reconciliation between Say and oh gosh, I'm blanking on her name already. Mary. I was like, we've been talking about her. The Say and Mary, and then there'll be a tribe split, and maybe like coming back, if the 2 make merge, things will be on much better terms because they'll have had that space, and they're not forced to gun for each other.
Steven, I'm gonna need you to learn Mary's name. I don't know if you can read my tagline.
Okay, I gotta ask: is Mary the next Sue? What makes a Sue?
A Sue is someone who unintentionally creates chaos, and I think Mary has unintentionally created chaos just by playing the game that she really wants to play. And I think Sue was the same thing. She created chaos just by playing the game, not like trying to create it. But I don't know. Mary, I think, is a little bit more of a bolder player than Sue. Sue is more timid. She's going to kind of go with the flow. I think Mary is not quite like that. She might be if she switches and they do like a tribe swap, which it looks like they are. To me, I think they have to. But if she's able to find her groove, man. You might see Mary at the end. What? That's why I kept it a question. Is Mary the new Sue? Still to be determined, but she's looking closer and closer. I guess she's more closer to the new Sue than anybody else out there. So
okay, well, so at least the application is still open for who's the new Sue. We'll see where things fall as the season progresses.
Absolutely. So they go to Siva tribe, and David gets emotional about the poor guy. Like, he's talking about living in a trailer. He's talking about if
that must
he
be
doesn't.
fantastic.
I mean, I guess. um, I, I think who was it that said that? Because I don't think they understood what he was saying.
I think it was. I'm looking at the cast list right now. It was Kyle, right? Kyle from the Orange Tribe as well. I think Kyle was like, yeah. I don't think he'd fully realize oh, you are living in a trailer because you can't afford to live everywhere else. You're trying to save money. I don't think he'd fully compounded that. He was just like, oh, I think it's kind of be like, oh yeah, that's like a cool, trendy, modern lifestyle. Like you're living on the road. I don't know.
Maybe that's what he thought. He was like a glamper, and he had like a mini escort van, and he was just kind of camping his way across America. I don't know, but you see David really get a very relatable story. Doesn't have much money. He's living in a trailer. His wife or girlfriend wants to have kids, and he knows he can't support kids. She has lofty expectations. She wants 4 kids, but I mean, I can feel for the guy. The first time that David shows some vulnerability, you look at him, he's a big muscular guy. And so
no, this is the second time. The first time when we learned about his 4 nipples.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. He was
trying to black that out of my head.
Yeah, his humble trait. But is this a good move for Steven? Or for David? Steven, I feel like he's that brawny kind of guy that can get a negative stereotype. So I feel like this was good for him to kind of show some vulnerability to the tribe. But I don't know as far as his game moving forward, because we don't really see a whole lot of what they have going on, because it's really a moot point right now, because they're not winning anything, but they're finishing second in everything. So they're kind of safe all the way around.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I think it's a good thing to be emotionally vulnerable and open to the players around you, to deepen those connections, to make it so coming in the merge. Oh yeah, everyone's okay voting Justin out because he's just this big guy. It's like, no, you want to make it hard for people to do that because they have those lasting connections with you, and especially if you aren't voting, right? You can't build trust any other way. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I know there's discussion this is so bad. He's giving this story out before final tribal. That's a far way away. And again, I think we talked about this. I don't think you win based off of solely an emotional appeal.
Yeah, I think you got to play the game. I mean, you got to have a good gameplay. I don't think you can luck your way with a tear-jerking story to the end, even though our boy Mitch might do it. He might. They might feel just really bad for him. But at Loggy, things are starting to get a little dicey. All right, they've won every challenge. They got Eva and Joe and Thomas and Shaheen and Star and Bianca. I mean, they're pretty solid tribe. But what ends up happening is Star's out looking, doing her thing, trying to figure this idol situation out so she can get her vote back, but also earn her idol. However, everyone else is kind of at the beach with the bonfire, and Joe Cool, man, he's like, yeah, we're just sipping on some wine over here. Can y'all picture it? This nice little charcuterie board. I mean, we got our feet up. Everybody's just soaking it in. And his girl Eva feels so, enthralled with what Joe's saying. She made a little bracelet for his daughter. I mean, that's just sweet. But Thomas, my guy Thomas, he's like, not up in here. Not in here. He gives Shaheen the look, and he's like, man, she's got to go. So let me ask you, Steve, if you are Thomas or Shaheen, are you feeling like Eva is a threat, or you just want to remove her from that triad that they got so that he's less likely to choose her over them?
I think it's okay to be selfish and you want to keep allies to yourself. And the more they're dependent on you and the less they have options for other people, I think you're better off for that, right? And we really like our understanding of Eva's game is pretty slim. We know she has a very tight connection with Joe, but we don't really see strong interactions beyond that. Right? We get to see her interact with Star, and that was kind of a funny exchange because who tells you about I have the Beware advantage within the first strategic conversation? No one should do that, right? And so like I don't think like so it was kind of funny. He's like, oh, she's not telling me information. Well, why would she? Though
Right.
to be fair, Star kicked off strategic conversations with people by telling him I had the Beware advantage. Then it was let's target Eva. So I mean, I think it is a smart decision to take out Eva, cement Joe, reduce his options. Maybe force Star to burn the advantage on top of that if you want to put it back into play.
Right. What do you think is going to happen with Star? Because
so
part of me, like, I'm having a really tough time because part of me sees them interacting with her, and it's okay. And as we get into this episode, you see Thomas and Shaheen go, well, or Thomas and Bianca, and them go, well, maybe partnering up with her is not such a bad idea. But she's vocal, but I don't feel like she's a net negative for the tribe. I'm just really confused on her,
she was the
like,
challenge and they won the challenge.
right, and it's I don't know. I guess at some point, if you continue to win challenges, you have to have that conversation on who to vote out.
Mhm.
But to me, like, they're moving so well, like it's almost like they're forcing the conversation that doesn't need to happen about
Well, look,
trying to find her
people get
out.
antsy in these games. People get
True.
antsy. Like I like live reality games, like where you don't have a vote out in the first 24 hours or more. Like people will get very antsy and kind of start making plans and making more plans. I know I've done that. I have a logistics question. So Stars Beware advantage. Stars not open the cryptex. We
Right.
know there's a tribe swap. If Star swaps to a different tribe, what happens then?
I would assume she's gonna have to either get this thing open, or now she's gonna keep it and I mean, I don't know. I mean, because the idol itself is inside the
Yeah.
thing. And so to me, I would assume she would take it with her, and if she needs help opening it, she's gonna have to rely on whoever is now in this
But
new.
she wanted access to the pictograms and the trees and the correct letters. So maybe she can brute force it, but like, or maybe it just says, hey, if this maybe there's in the directions, hey, if this happens, go to the tree mill. There'll be an alternate task for you to complete. I don't know.
But maybe someone else who has opened it knows what it should be
Isn't
and
the
can
I
just.
wonder we have
I don't know if it's the same thing, but like I
yeah,
would.
I'd be shocked if it's the same word, but
Yeah. So I mean, I probably not, because we've seen some of these journeys where what's at stake is different.
yeah.
So it's hard to say, but I think she needs to. I think they're editing in the fact that she has to get this open and she doesn't have a vote for a reason. And I hope it is for a reason. And I want her to, it to play out, So maybe Stars on the block next week. Maybe she's the one that maybe loses her vote and she's maybe at jeopardy, or maybe she plays an idol successfully.
Something
Or if
else.
it's anything like past seasons, she might just keep the idol in her pocket and go home with that.
One thing that's funny about the Logi tribe is now that Thomas has that really kind of striking bruise by his eye, thanks to the last challenge, you can really date when a confessional or a scene is. Is it pre bruise or post bruise?
Right. And that's I don't know if I hope the editing team's looking into that, because, as a fan, like, how this rabbit hole is. There's people out there that's going to timestamp this stuff and like piece it together, and then they got like red strings and on the cork board, and it's crazy. But yeah, I don't really care. He did actually. he actually got hurt worse than I thought he did. At first, he was like, "Am I bleeding?" And they're like, "No." And so I just assumed like he's good to go. And then this episode, you see this black eye, and you're like, "Oh, he
He
got
really
popped
did
pretty
get
good."
smacked in the eye by
Yeah.
his teammate.
So on Siva now is telling Charity that, or Charity's telling Mitch, "Hey, you're my number one." Um, Mitch tells Kyle he wants to go to the final three with him and Charity. So, Mitch, Kyle, Charity, what do you think about that little trio?
It is kind of amusing that we're in like day 7 and Kyle's like, this is the first time Mitch has talked strategy with me. It's like, I don't know if I need to talk strategy everyone day 1, day 2, especially if we don't go to that first tribal council. But boy, by day 3, day 4, I will have one that's like had something strategic with everyone, right? So
Yeah.
people like think warmly of me and not someone they should target because like, well, I've never talked to him.
Isn't it? I think this is what would be the biggest difficulty in, like, and you interviewed Teeny, like maybe she had some insight in this, but when you play an LRG, it's so condensed and things happen so fast. If you were to go out and actually play Survivor, and it's extended a good amount of time, like, do you come out of the gates hot trying to talk strategy and build alliances and do all these things, and really, like, it's 3 hours into the start, because the reality is in an LRG, 3 hours into the game, you're in the game.
For a one-day game, you could be getting to the merge. You're probably
Right.
like still 3 people out at this point, but yeah, you're multiple rounds in.
Yeah, it's so I don't know. Like I don't know when, like, in this particular instance for Mitch, I don't know when the right time is, like, if there is one. Like, I think you just kind of play it out with your tribe. And I think Mitch might have been seeing like, well, nobody's really talking strategy, but maybe I
But that's
should.
that's always a bad thing. Like if no one's talking strategy, like there's a chance because no one's talking strategy with you, right?
You right.
Especially that far in. I mean, day 1, day 2, it could just be, hey, this tribe is moving a little bit slower, and I want to make sure I match the pace. And I don't want to go guns blazing and really unnerve people. But day 6, day 7, episode 3, I'm like, no. I think it's because no one's strategizing with you.
I mean, I'll be honest, Steven. Like, if I was out there a week and I hadn't talked strategy, I would have clearly run out of things to talk to these people about. So, like, let's get into the game, and like that way we do have something to talk about. I mean,
But that's also hard to get in the game when you're not losing, no one's going home. Like you don't have that kind of impetus to kind of begin things, right? Which
right.
looking the merge for say Mary and Cedric, this could be an advantage because they've really had their hands dirty at this point.
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
swap that merge.
Yeah. All right, so Loggy, Eva now is saying, okay, all right, I need to see where Star and I fit in. Like, I want to go talk to Star. One of the same things. You hadn't seen Eva even approach Star or talk to Star other than saying, "Hey, Star, you should sit out this next challenge." So Eva goes to Star and asks her, like, not directly, but kind of a roundabout way, do you have an idol and an advantage? And, Eva knows the answer to this question because she's been told by Joe. And Star lies to her. And so at that point, Eva's like, all right, I know that she's not willing to work with me. If so, she would have told me, because she told everybody else. Thomas and, Star still doesn't trust Eva, and neither does Eva at this point. But Star goes and tells Thomas and Bianca that Eva has now pitched one of their names. And so Thomas in his head is, and this is why I think I'm very, very on the Thomas train right now, pun intended. Thomas is very social, but he's also constantly thinking strategically on how to maneuver his way to long-term success. And in this particular instant is a great example of that, where Star brings him this information and he goes, okay, well, let me process this. What is my best scenario here? Not a good scenario, but what is the ideal best scenario? And he's like, well, if I could get control of this tribe, or we can gain control of this tribe, like that's ideal. And so he and Bianca decide, well, if we're gonna be together, we're gonna need to help Star get this idol. So I'll ask you, do you think, is this a good move for Thomas and Bianca? Because Thomas, for one, is kind of in the California girls, but he's also in the alliance with them and Eva. So he's in a really good spot. Do you think that now switching that and going with Star is the route to go, or do you think he's going to stay with that, or you think he's going to rethink that, or is that even a good move?
Talking about, like, being selfish about your allies, I don't think this is a bad thing to scoop Star up, because Star is probably going to be more in your corner than Eva's in your corner. So scoop Star up, kick out Eva. Joe now is going to be coming closer to the trio of guys. Like, I think I like this direction from Thomas's game.
Yeah, I would agree, because he's right. This would, in theory, allow them to gain some control, but I also think that Joe is a problem, and Thomas at some point is going to have to separate himself from Joe.
Joe might be a problem that solves himself at merge, though.
Very true. Very true. And but I guess for Thomas, he's looking at, like, I can still have control, but also still work with Joe possibly, and then at the very end, because Joe is that quintessential guy that's going to be a shield. He's a strong guy. He's a good competitor. He's pretty social. I haven't heard him talk too much about, strategy and like moves and things to make, other than I'm just going to, put Eva under my wing and just be that dad figure.
Their tribe is in the tribal council. It's early. Let's see what happens when he's on a losing tribe.
What do you think? Who would go home? Like, if they were to have gone to tribal, would it have been Star?
I'm leaning towards Eva at this point.
Yeah. To me, I got the feeling that, this Eva thing, even Joe is a little, I don't know. I just don't like, when I look at his body language, he just didn't look like he's appreciative of her. But I think he's like, man, this girl is just going to be too much. Like, at some point I'm going to have to cut bait, and probably sooner than later.
So I'm hearing no one gave you a bracelet to bring back to your kids while you're at Survivor Angelica, and you had to react in the moment.
No, I have a family of friends now from Survivor Angelica, but none of them gave me a bracelet, even though Jessica Lee did play an idol for me, which was very, very nice.
Okay, I mean, if I can't have a bracelet for my kids, an idol's second best. I'll
gladly take an idol. And, I would say this, that Jess is a beautiful soul and a beautiful person. And, her playing that on me was what we thought was a move that needed to happen. And maybe it did, but it ended up being different. We were able to flip. And that was the same tribal. That happened in the same tribal that I was talking about with this live tribal and this 2-2 split. So a lot of things are going on there, but I never put Jess's name down, nor was I going to. So, Jess, thank you. I still appreciate you. Got much love for you.
You flip on me, but not you, Jess.
That's right. All day. Let's get to the challenge. The challenge itself was one of the blindfold. Everybody's blindfolded, going through a maze, getting keys, and there's one caller who's, directing them all. It's chaos. People are headbutting logs and running their junk into logs and doing all kinds of foolish stuff. Bruce is probably holding his breath.
Yeah, I was surprised that there wasn't like padding on those logs for like the Bruce effect. But maybe they're hoping that people blindfolded are not charging right into a log.
I mean, I know me, and like I would come out bloody if I was blindfolded in that situation. Like it would just be like no fear. Whatever's in my way, I'm just gonna go through it.
So what I love
Um,
about this challenge is this is actually a challenge that live games can easily create and do. In fact, I've seen this exact challenge in Real Foot where people go out, collect stuff, come back, and do slide puzzle, a 3x3 slide puzzle. Which, a 3x3 slide puzzle is easy if you're doing it. It's harder to instruct someone to do it. Um,
especially someone who's blindfolded.
yes, and like so I enjoy the challenge because I've done essentially a variant of this. I didn't have a slide puzzle then, but it's like okay, I kind of know what it's like. And so Daniel, would you be the caller? Would you be a runner?
I would be a runner. I actually, this past Survivor Angelica, we had a blindfold challenge. We had 3 people that had to run out in the field blindfolded and grab blocks to do. You stack the blocks and everyone's holding the string, and you take one block at a
Yeah,
time and put. I don't know what you call that, but
yeah.
anyhow, so I was a blindfolder, and Tara, shout out to Tara, was amazing caller. Did a great job. The best person I think on our tribe at the time that could have done that. We didn't win that challenge though. It was
Um,
tough.
in Survivor LA, Blood versus Water, we have essentially a blindfold challenge, and I end up being the caller, which I'm just like, oh gosh. And my favorite moment is like the caller for their team. He doesn't watch Survivor. He doesn't know what's going on. So they say, "All right, go." And so the blindfolders player take off, and the caller of their team starts running with those players, directing them as they go. I'm like, wait,
Wait a minute. Wait
that's
a
not
minute.
how it's supposed to work, is it?
So how did you do? How did you do as the caller?
My tribe won, but I give myself a mediocre rating, probably because I should just start running with my team and
Yeah,
directing as I went as well. So really, the puzzle people really saved the day. I think my calling skills were mediocre. It's not a role I want.
it is. It's it's difficult when it's just one person at a time that you're having to direct, or just one person in general. It's a lot more difficult when you have multiple people
Yeah,
that you're having to kind of keep eyes on each person and direct them the way that they need to go. But you
I've
know,
definitely heard. At least one of the strategies I've heard is like you want someone whose voice is distinct from the other teams. So like Camila being Camila shouting for her team, that's the only woman who's doing that role, maybe is good because her voice is much more distinct than the two guys who are shouting it. So
yeah. I agree. That all those little things I think in that particular case matter. And I don't necessarily know what kind of skills outside of like you're just the right person for this that you got to have to be a good caller, but
you are a kindergarten teacher and you shout at kids all day
all day,
long.
all
That is the
day.
dream profession for this.
Yeah. So once they're directed and they get these keys, the keys, then they go down and they unlock these the
Side
slide
puzzles.
puzzle. And so now we have a slide puzzle that the caller is directing the blindfolded person on how to maneuver and move the blocks or move the pieces in order to create the survivor logo. And wouldn't you know it, Loggy just dominates, just move
Because
masterfully. Just
secretly, Side doesn't know left or right.
I mean, are they just getting lucky? Is that what it is, or the other team's just that bad? Like, because that to me is just asinine. Like, come on, come on.
I
And
did enjoy seeing a montage of people of like the callers pointing like go there and just like they're blindfolded.
we- they can see that. Nice. So Lagi wins. Siva comes in second, and Vulu ends up losing once again. They're headed to tribal, but
First,
uh,
we have a journey.
exactly. Unbeknownst to them, they get a journey. And I believe that Lagi gets to choose so who goes on the journey. So
Mhm.
Bianca's going on the journey. She chose Camila and Justin to go on the journey. So what do you all right, so in this scenario, if you didn't know what a journey what if you knew that you're going on a journey, but you don't know what it is, are you excited for this, or are you like, God, like
I
this is
mean,
just
I think we can both say we're Survivor super fans. As a Survivor super fan, I am excited for the opportunity. I'm excited for the chance. But what I'm less excited about is what this journey was, where it's like you have no choice. You must play this game. Good luck. And you're like,
yeah.
oh, wait. So I am excited. I'm happy to be chosen. I think the only I would be nervous if I was in Justin's place of like, my vote may really matter tonight. But if I was in Bianca or Camila's place, I would be thrilled.
But if they, in a sense though, if you do lose your vote, you lose it until the next tribal. So like
Which I don't
it's
think
kind
I've
of a
really internalized that like a lost vote is for the entire tribal council, not simply one lost vote.
yeah.
Right? Because I was really expecting like, oh, okay, after like Justin's a vote, now Justin can vote. Justin goes like, oh, I can't vote. It goes back, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
well,
And
this
that's
is
like
really bad.
yeah,
Yes.
if it was the other way around, then it wouldn't have been a problem. Say would have went home.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a strange feeling. And for me, like you said, I don't like the idea that now I'm being forced to go and participate with my vote on the line. And then you go and you realize it has nothing to do with your skill or physical ability. It is simply luck.
I
And
mean, I think ever
at that
since
point, I would have just said, "Here's my vote," like, and I wouldn't even have rolled the dice. I mean, I kid, I would have rolled the dice, but like, come on, like, give me something to do. That way, if I don't do it, all I can do is blame myself. I can't go, well, like, I rolled the dice, like, maybe I could have shook it up 5 times instead of 4 and got a better outcome. But
I mean,
in
I
this,
think ever
I
since Helen Bechtel went to Ghost Island and she said no to the Vantage there, I think Survivor's like, we don't like that. So like it's like, no, you must play this game. You must like it. Smile for the camera.
yeah, and enjoy your skulls. They had the opportunity. They roll a cup and they had to get 4 skulls or 4 flames, whichever happened first. And I guess they had as many rolls as it took to do it. But you see immediately Bianca gets skulls and she ends up, rolling again and she ends up losing. I think she got 3 flames and 3 skulls at one point and she ends up getting a skull on the last one. Camilla does, I think, 2 skulls and then 3 flames, and then I think she got a flame. I don't something like that. But Bianca loses her vote. Camilla gets an extra vote, and then Justin, poor Justin, he just comes out the gate with skulls, and it just was bad for him from the jump. But he loses his vote as well. You know, when you hear them, talking about him, and especially before this journey as they're going, he's talking about, I I'm I have some trepidation about going on this journey. Like, I don't want to lose a vote because it's super important, especially in a tribe of 4 right now. And so now he loses his vote. Like, Steven, are you thinking, oh, it's definitely Justin? Or are you thinking, well, maybe he can maneuver his way through this?
So I guess we've talked about like, do you tell the tribe you have no vote? Right. And if I was in a tribe of 6, the answer is no. If I was in the tribe of 5, the answer is probably no. But in a tribe of 4, right? When suddenly, okay, I don't have a vote, and so there's only 3 votes that matter, right? I think I want to start alerting allies like, hey, you should be aware this is happening, especially with the threat that Mary's going to do something. Now, it was the 1 in 6 shot Mary gets immune, so like any other world, like 5/6 of the timelines, Justin is fine.
Right.
But yeah, I would be very, very concerned, and I think. And yeah, so maybe the answer is like, had Justin been vocal, votes pile on him from the start because he can't play a shot in the dark and he's always exposed. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I think, in hindsight, giving how it went down, if he would have told Cedric, it might have made a difference.
We're
But if
led to
he
believe that.
Right, but if you tell Cedric also could be like, "Oh, well, this is the easy route is this. Let's just do this." Because, there's one thing, and I think he mentioned it earlier in the episode that I don't wanna vote Justin, but I will if I have to, like, something to that
Yeah.
effect, and, and I think that's the epitome of how most players in Survivor feel is when it comes to alliances, like, I want to not have to vote for my alliance,
Mhm.
but if it's me or them, like, it's always in my opinion, it's always gonna be them.
So you would vote Jessica out?
Uh, if it came down to me or her, yes, unfortunately. But if I had other options other than us 2, then I would do everything in my power, and I probably went home because I played a very loyal game. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I was very proud of that game that I played. Very loyal, and I think most people know going in, like, that's the type of person I am, and I played the game as me. But, going back to this episode, you get the 3 players who went on a journey, and Bianca, let's start with her. She goes and she lies. All right, cool. All right, 6, they haven't had any issues. They haven't been to tribal yet. Everybody, all the members are intact. Like you said, I don't know if it necessarily matters that she tells anybody. Like, she ends up telling Thomas, but I think that's more so just the kind of, hey, here's some good favor. Like, here's what happened. Thomas, however, doesn't tell her about what he's got going on.
He doesn't need to from at least how
No.
we're assessing his game.
Right, and, if it comes down to it, which it very well might, like, she might feel betrayed, but he could always go, "Well, I didn't get that until after you had told me. So when you told me that, like, I didn't have anything and there was nothing to tell." Um, and then if he wants to tell her later, he can always craft the story of, "Well, yeah, I got this after you came back from the journey, after you told me." But either way, I think in Bianca's situation, like, I don't tell anybody. I don't even think I would tell Thomas necessarily unless we were going to tribal and I felt like this was something that needed to be said because they have to know, like, Steven, don't you think that they know at this point that Vulu's sending another person home? Now they're going to go down to 3. Like, they got to be aware that a swap or something's going to happen and some type of shakeup.
I mean,
Like,
I wasn't. I like we haven't like we've had one swap by one person from each tribe kind of swap to a new one. We haven't had like a true like drop your buffs. We're randomly assigning you all in a while.
but you gotta, like, all right, so what are you gonna do if they don't do that? Just tell 3 people and the other tribes they gotta sit out? Like, that just seems so.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think I guess the question was this swap always planned, or is this the like break in case of emergency of one tribe loses 3 in the row to start with and no other tribe has lost anyone?
I mean, if you ask Survivor, if you ask Jeff, he's probably gonna say, "Oh, this was the plan all along. This was we stick to script. We don't edit or modify anything that we do." But I'm pretty sure that they have backup plans for when things happen, and maybe it's like, all right, if this scenario happens, this is the route we're going. If this is the scenario that happens, this is the route that we're going. But they all circumvent back to the merge where everything works the way that it, is supposed to. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, essentially, we're gonna get a swap, and then we'll have 2 episodes of the swap, right? Because we do a earn the merge when we get to 13. So
earn the merge. Give me a break. We got to be done with that.
I don't know. I think there's something to the concept and idea. I just don't know how. I don't know. I don't think how we currently have it makes sense to like, well, this is kind of the merge and everything but name only.
True. Wow. Let's see. Camilla goes and she just says, "Hey guys, guess what? Let me tell you what happened. Like, let me put my feet up. Can somebody give me some coconut water? Like, she just divulges everything, just tells everything. Like, I get it. Like, you're feeling good, like you're not in danger. But Camilla, you're not. It's not like you're winning. You could easily at some point lose, and like, why are we going and telling everybody all the business?
Because Mitch did.
I get it, but like,
I mean,
I thought Mitch telling everybody was a mistake too. But
yes, I agree. I mean, but there is some upside, right? We're gonna have a swap. You don't know who from the Orange Tribe you're gonna be swapped with, and there's gonna be goodwill, likely enough goodwill with whoever you are, because you have been open and upfront. And knowing that someone has a vote steal or an extra vote, again, in a 5-person tribe, those will change the tide.
Yeah.
Like there's a high likelihood that the next 2 episodes are run by whoever has an extra vote or vote blocker just immediately just picks off the other side. Right? It could be that black and white, which less exciting TV, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I think you mentioned this, but if you have an extra vote or you have a vote blocker, in theory, it can give you the same situation. Like an extra vote allows you to vote again for that person that you're really wanting to get out, and a block of vote can allow that person that you're trying to get out not to have a vote, which the byproduct of that is you earned, a vote essentially.
Yeah.
But then you have Justin, who goes to camp. He doesn't tell them anything. He concocts this funny, like, what kind of story was he trying to tell them?
I think you should say, look, we roll dice, we're getting something, we won't know till tomorrow. It could be food, could be comfort, but it's something good, but it's coming tomorrow post-tribal council.
Yeah. Why not just go and say, I was given the option and I chose not to play?
That would have been easy. Or he said, like, hey, it was simply a meet and greet summit. There were sandwiches. We could choose between amulet and sandwiches, and we chose sandwiches, so we got to eat.
Yeah. I think people are so worried about, like, well, what if they find out?
I mean, I think at this point, like, you're going to travel, there's 4 people. I think you can just lie and say, there's a game I didn't play. And then you bring Cedric. It's like, hey, Cedric, we have a problem.
So let's get to that. So I think Cedric's pretty intuitive. I think he had a pretty good inclination. Like I don't know if he wasn't buying it or he just didn't believe him or just Justin didn't look like his disposition didn't like cater to him, like, earning something, because his story that he created, they're getting something. So you would think like, okay, I'm excited about the possibility that we're getting something, but it didn't. You could look at him and it looked like he was defeated already. So Cedric, approaches him. They're on the walk and they said, is that really what happened? And Justin was like, yeah, man, that's exactly what happened, bro. Like, I earned us something for tomorrow. I won't be here, but y'all gonna get something. But like in that situation, like if he is your number one, if you're not gonna trust him, who are you gonna like? Then what? Because if he stays, if in the event that Justin didn't get sent home, now he's gonna have to come clean about it.
Yeah, I think you do immediately just saying, hey, y'all, you saw I didn't vote tonight. Here's why. I was nervous. I told myself I'd never tell someone I lost a vote, and so that's why y'all didn't know. I think you just come clean immediately post-trial when you get back to camp, saying, hey, here's what happened. Sorry.
And then, I don't know. Maybe he cleans it up too by saying, you guys know the situation we were in. Every vote mattered, and as you could see, it mattered. And I didn't want to divulge that I didn't have a vote because I think, things could have went against me.
So this is making me think. So what if again, this is kind of fast forwarding. What if we had a world where Sai and Cedric vote for each other, right? They tie. Justin can't vote because he has no vote. Mary lost her vote because she played this on the dark. So you have this tie situation and then there's no one eligible to vote. What happens?
Paper, rock, scissors?
Does it go to the rocks and Justin leaves immediately?
So apparently this board game where you just pick numbers like they did in this, what was it? One of the journeys to decide who goes on a journey. That's in the new board game, which Jeff promoted. And paper, rock, scissors is in the board game too. So maybe that's how you break that situation, you know?
Boy, nothing is more riveting TV than watching two people play rock, paper, scissors. We can say this because we saw that was the finale of Squid Games. The challenge was rock, paper, scissors ad nauseum.
And I mean, like, what if, what kind of meta world are we living in if in the Survivor show, you play the Survivor game to decide who goes home in the real Survivor show?
Remember season 41, 42? Jeff's like, the game within a game. We've done it. We brought it here. The Survivor
We've done it.
The Survivor main game.
Oh man, that'd be crazy. Have you played the card game, the Survivor board game?
I mean, I played the really old one when I was young, but I've not played the new one.
Yeah, you know, my friend Santi, he has it. He said it's good. It's fun. You know,
which is good to hear because the old one, not as like I don't know. I'm glad to hear the new one is good.
Yeah, he you know, it's quick. It doesn't take long to play. You can roll through it real easily. Kids can play and they get it.
You lose friends and make enemies on the way through.
I can only hope so. I mean, could you picture this? Like, all right, it's Thanksgiving and everybody's at the house and like, this is what ruins your family forever. This game of Survivor. Like everyone's like, yeah, let's play. And
my kind of family game night.
For sure.
So I want to ask, what could Justin have done in the scramble period to change things? We've talked about him telling Cedric he has no vote. And let's imagine he does. He tells Cedric he has no vote. What could they have done to change? Like, what could he have done to change maybe Mary's? I don't know. Like what she said to Mary, what she said the Sai. Like what could he have done here?
Without knowing, not a whole lot, without knowing how the first vote was going to go. But the first thing that would have to happen is I think he would have to tell Cedric, hey, I don't have a vote. So here's what we need to do. I need to know who are you voting for? And if he says, oh, it's going to be Say, then that's easy. Now you go to Mary and, hey, Mary, you do everything you can to talk her out of playing her shot in the dark, which will be extremely tough at this point. And you go, hey, we're with you. You got to vote Say.
Yeah.
And I don't think it bodes very well, and it's not favorable to go and tell someone who they need to vote for, you know, because I think now that like will indicate Mary a little bit more that she's like, yeah, I'm definitely playing my shot in the dark. But that's the only scenario that I think, because the other scenario is you do the same thing, but you do it with Say, but then Mary definitely plays her shot in the dark. She's safe. So then you get the same situation that happened.
Yeah. And maybe the answer is Justin goes to Mary and say, Mary, I'm really not feeling Say. She's really worrying me over these past couple of days. I want to go the rocks for you. Or like, I want to force rocks because Cedric will flip to me if I force this issue. I am voting Say tonight. If you play your shot in the dark and it misses, you're going home, right? But if you vote with me, I can guarantee that you'll be fine because I will force the 2-2. I mean, I think the only way Justin survives is he forces Mary to not play the shot in the dark through some sort of way, and that is like making promises or making her feel comfortable at that moment that her chances are better gambling on him tying it versus the 1 and 6.
I mean, maybe he just goes to Mary and he's like, look, I need you to vote with me, but I need you and Cedric to get along.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're right. But I mean, the driver is Mary and the shot in the dark. Like you would have to get her not to play that. That's the only scenario where like he has an opportunity to be safe.
Yeah.
So let's get to tribal. I think we've hit pretty much everything, but we go to tribal. You know, Vulu goes to tribal. You know,
again,
it's Mary plays the shot in the dark. and 1 in 6 chance, and she gets it. Boom, she's safe. Were you surprised by that?
I think I was more surprised the fact that Say didn't vote for Justin outright, because the entire episode is Mary and Say's like, I think she had it. She's acting differently while Mary's playing mind games, but ultimately Say votes for Mary, and therefore all votes are nulled. And so that was the big surprise. I was like, it's like, are we gonna see a 1-1-1 situation or a 1-1 situation? Like, and the answer was 0.
I mean, if your vote is gonna be nulled, either way, why not just why didn't she, like you said, why didn't she just vote for Justin? Because if she votes for Mary, and she like in her head, she's like, I think she has an idol. Like I think she has one, but she ends up voting. I don't know.
I think you never want to vote for someone who's not going home, right? Because there's always that cost to voting for someone. Say, sorry about that, friends.
but in this particular situation, like Say was going to vote for Mary. Like everyone knew Say was going to vote for Mary. Her voting for Justin would have been
amazing.
I mean, yeah, it would have been a really solid move and would have ended the episode 10 minutes earlier. I know that. It would have prevented.
When you get a commercial break through Tribal Council, like, oh man.
It would have prevented Cedric from having to walk with the urn twice. Just a bunch of wasted movement.
Or 2 times, yeah.
But anyhow, Mary plays her shot in the dark. She's safe. Both votes were for Mary, so they revote. You get 1 vote for Say, 1 vote for Justin. You get a tie, so revote again. And Cedric obviously sticks with voting for Say a second time. He, at that point, it's a deadlock, and now Cedric becomes the deciding vote. So Cedric now is like, I don't know. Why do you, if you weren't willing to vote Justin 2 times in a row, why the third time was the story different? And you're like, all right, well, I'm going to vote Justin now.
Well, I think what we don't see is, from what I've seen from Chatter Online, like this was like a 2-hour deadlock discussion. There was a lot more that we didn't see on our TV screen, which is fine. We got the very slim, edited down version of the debate. But I think there was a lot we didn't see on what caused him to flip from one way or another. When I hear Justin's like not going really into depth of that conversation. But I think there's a lot we didn't see as to what led in that decision. But I'm with you. Where like, if I just wrote someone's name down twice, I'm probably write their name down the third time. It's like, boy, like I really just burned this bridge. Let's burn it some more.
Especially if that's your number one. Like now, so hear me out now. I guess Mary and Say have to look at this from 2 different lenses. Okay, I've now garnered an ally because Cedric now is voting with me. Or you look at it, and this is how I would look at it, is Cedric voted for Mary and then turned around and voted for Say, and now he's turning around voting for Justin. Like, I don't even trust this dude.
I mean, there are some fun stats with this tribe, right? Where Cedric had voted for every eligible member. Cedric has both voted for everyone on his original tribe. That was 3. He voted for everyone he could vote for in his tribe in this tribal council. Mary has been voted for by, both Cedric and Say. Say has been voted for by both Mary and Cedric's the only one who hasn't received a single vote yet.
The more I think of
2 through 3, this 3 is not going to ride with each other.
No. I would be shocked. But what I will say is, when I thought Mary needed to switch things up, I think Cedric more than anybody needs to switch things up. I think he needs to get as far away from them 2 as possible.
Yeah, I think I assume the swap will be 2 purple, 2 orange, and 1 green, and so they'll be in the swing vote position. They'll be able to make some new allies and friends. They'll likely won't be they probably won't be taken out by the extra votes, steal votes that are played, because those will be likely purple and orange will go against each other and leave green out for the time being.
Yeah, what I think would be funny is if they all three ended up on the same swap tribe. It with like a combination of a Lagi and a Siva, or two of either one of those.
So, do
Which,
you prefer your swaps to be evenly orchestrated, or do you prefer like true randomness and chaos for your swaps?
I would prefer. I mean, I would like there to be even numbers. I mean, that would make life a little bit easier,
Hmm.
but in the sake of the game and like being a good game player and the challenge, like I think the challenge in and of itself is the randomness. Like
Yeah,
getting put on a swap tribe where you're in the minority. Like I think having to maneuver that, like it's
yeah, it's hard, and it's
yeah,
impressive when someone pulls it off.
yeah. So Justin goes home.
Rip.
Last parting words for Justin, Steven. What do you think?
I'm shocked that all the three people I picked for my draft team, you went home first, but it took wild circumstances to lead us to this timeline.
Yeah, it's he's got a unique story. Graduated from Yale, was going to go to law school, decided he wanted to help out in his family run pizza joint, Luigi's. There's a shout out, shameless plug for Luigi's Pizza. I wonder if anybody's had Luigi's Pizza.
And it makes me want pizza for lunch.
Yeah. And I'm sure like Luigi sounds like it's like a pretty typical pizzeria name. Like,
Mhm.
does this solidify them as Luigi's number one? Like, of all the Luigi's Pizza out there? Like,
Maybe he can help up the game of the Survivor Pizza in the future.
hey, let's go. Tell me about it. I mean, that we haven't even seen any food yet, but it's gonna look. I could care less about the food that they give.
Unless it's
'Cause no
Applebee's, and I care a lot.
Well, that's different, but nobody has gone to the sanctuary where good things happen. I bet that's coming next episode. I bet I'd put money on it, but looking forward, hopefully there's a swap of some sort, mix things up. I think for Vulu's sake, they're dwindling quick, and the three that they have, it's like the Office episode where they're all in the conference room and they're like pointing the guns at each other. I believe like that to me, that's the three. They're all pointing the gun at each other just because it could be any of them. So they need swap. They need to mix it up more than anybody. It'll be interesting to see the Loggy tribe, how they end up faring if they swap with Thomas and his thoughts with Bianca and them trying to work with Star, because they chat about it now, but that may not even be something that comes into fruition, later on because of the moves that might happen.
We'll see.
Yep. Another good episode, man. Anything you want to plug or promote? What's out there? What's going on?
So I am doing weekly podcasts on Surviving Bloomington. They are airing their seventh season, Surviving Bloomington Mischief Makers. And so episodes 1, 2, and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 are out, and they just had their tribe swap to three tribes of 6, and so with 3-3 splits. We'll see. It's been interesting to watch. I'm excited to see what happens from there. And then Survivor Angelica, is that wrapped up with this finale, or do you still?
Not yet. So we didn't do a recap show this week. There was a delay. So there was a week off in between episodes being released. We'll be back next Thursday with another recap. But we're getting close. We're down to the final 7. And so you'll probably see within the next 3 episodes us get to a finale. So I would say, by April, end of April, you'll have that wrapped up, and it's a good one. You'll want to look out, a lot of things to look out for. I don't want to give anything away, so I'll just leave it at that. It gets very interesting moving forward. There's hit lists, and you name it. There's a lot going on,
and there are plenty of other shows to watch right now. Stranded premiered. Survivor Pennsylvania premiered. I'm sure there's millions I'm missing. So, not hopefully millions, but probably less.
Yeah, just to throw some out there, Survivor Calgary season 6, that's happening in July. They got applications open. Let's see, Torch of the North got applications open. And all of this is on the LRG casting. Split the votes. There's a big mini in Orlando, so we got that in May. So a lot of different things going on. Before we close it out, Steven, are you a traders guy?
Outside of applying for season 1, I have not watched the past 3 seasons.
You need to watch season 3. It's a delight. It is a delight. I'm not gonna give any spoil. It took me forever to finish it all, but I finally watched the last of it last night, and I was thoroughly impressed. I enjoyed it a lot. But if you are looking to get into the LRG community, obviously you can follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. If you're wanting to get into a game, you want to know about what games, where they're at, how they're happening, how to apply, LRG_casting on Instagram. Follow that account, and there's applications daily going out there. So be on the lookout for that. I did see, for those of you that have applied for Outlast, in the next couple of weeks, you'll probably be notified on whether you're going to be a part of that cast or not. Survivor Angelica's new season, LRG All-Stars, same thing. In the next couple of weeks, everyone should know if they're going to be a part of that as well. So
a lot of All-Star seasons this summer.
Yeah, a lot going on, a lot to watch, a lot to get caught up on, but a lot to apply for. So, Steven, I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the rest of your spring break, and we'll be back next week recapping episode 4, and we're going to get closer to answering the question, is Mary the new Sue? With that, y'all be good. Be safe. We're out. Peace.